So pretty much everything starts with strains or items in Metrc. We'll be walking through these processes so you can actually see how to do these actions in Metrc. But similar to how you're building a product shell in Treez that ultimately you sell through, that is what an item is in Metrc. It's a product shell. It's not batch specific. It's where all of your inventory feeds into so that you have a single consolidated reference point of what this item is. There are different requirements for each of these items, and we'll take a look.
So a package tag is essentially a label that has two parts to it. It's perforated. It has a unique identifier on both parts of the label. But the package tag essentially represents what's called a package, and it's really a vessel. You can only put one type of thing in a vessel at a time, but a package tag is essentially the vessel by which anything in the system moves into the retail environment.
So this is batch specific. So whereas an item is essentially your shell, your different package tags and packages essentially will feed up into that item shell. So one item can have it's a one-to-many sort of concept. And then each new shipment of inventory has a new package tag.
But package tag, that is the most granular thing. So if you had a product that came from the same harvest and went to the lab at the same time, once it's been separated into a separate package tag, that becomes the new most granular tracking level. It doesn't matter that the items are exactly identical, they have to be treated differently from that point on.
And in Treez, the package tag has a one-to-one relationship with our inventory SKU. So each time you intake new inventory with a new package tag into Treez, we'll associate a brand new inventory barcode with it, which is why stickering every unit in your inventory and scanning that at the point of sale is the only way to ensure that you are submitting compliant sales every time. It's paramount that you guys are sticking every unit with that inventory barcode. And one of the nice parts about the Treez 2 system is that we've actually built out a configuration where you guys can configure your inventory barcodes as QR codes. And that allows you to associate the Metrc package tag with that inventory SKU, scan it in Treez, but then also scan it in Metrc as well. So there's less searching and copying and pasting back and forth between the systems, but that will allow you to make sure that you're selling from the right batch every time and those sales are being sent to the right package as well.
To reiterate, the UPC that comes on products plus the batch plus the lot is not good enough to identify the correct package for the inventory to decrement from. There is no way other than actually scanning the package label or scanning the Treez inventory barcode that points at that package to properly decrement the right inventory.
Yeah. Their starting inventory is really when you as an operator are technically live on Metrc, and it is a snapshot of all of the inventory that is currently on hand in your shop the night, the day, the morning that you actively go live on Metrc. So leading up to your starting inventory upload, getting accurate counts is like the most important thing that you can do. And then last but not least, transfers. So transfers is a process that you guys are all gonna become very well accustomed to. Depending on the intersection of licenses will determine what sort of processes you have to follow in order to get inventory into your system. So if you're working with a temporary distributor versus a permanent distributor, or you're permanently licensed, depending on that sort of mix and match will determine what has to happen. We'll automate all of this process for you, which is great because it can take tens of hours, many hours to actually build your strains and items, map those to all of your package tags, and then pull that inventory and tagging into your POS system. We automate the entire process for you. So we'll just do an export of all of your live inventory and we'll turn those into strains and items. There's a specific nomenclature that Metrc requires you to use for your items that are associated with your starting inventory. SI is the term that we use. It just represents starting inventory. The next time you intake inventory, even the same product beyond your starting inventory, you have to create a brand new item shell to house that additional inventory because it's not actually associated with your starting inventory. That is a really time-consuming process. So while we load your starting inventory with the SI in the title of all of your products, we also do it a second time and we recreate all of those product shelves for you without the SI. So the next time you go in, you don't have to take the time to build those items again. You can just map it and say, okay, this one doesn't have the SI, I'm gonna use this one. And then standard naming conventions is really important. So while you guys have control over getting inventory into your system through this incoming external transfer flow, which we'll go through, you guys get to control how you name all of your items in Metrc. So our recommendation is always the more granular, the better. You guys can kind of see here our recommendation, which is SI plus or minus, depending on whether or not you're starting inventory, followed by brand, flavor, type, and weight or potency. The more detail that you can get in that name, the easier it's gonna be for you down the line to sort of follow your steps back to reconcile your products if you need to investigate where something kind of went wrong, if a count was entered incorrectly, whatever it is, the more detail, the better off you'll be in the long run.